Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to try to recommend some manga for you if you're trying to start out with manga, you don't really know where to start. Some of these are really known, some of these I don't think are as known, at least maybe not as popular anymore, but like they were popular a lot before at least. And the reason I'm recommending them is for different reasons, like they're easier to get into, they're not as complicated. Some also manga is really weird, like they have really weird concepts, and I feel like if you're not used to it and haven't seen it many times before, like that kind of weird ass feeling, you could just go in and be like, what is this, what am I reading, and it doesn't make any sense to you. So for these I was just trying to think like the beginning of how it's like easier to get into, and then after a while you can go out for the more weird ones, because I could definitely recommend so many weird ones that like if you look from the outside it's like, what even is this, you know? And I think I mentioned most of these in my manga recommendations that I did a few years ago, because I'm still literally here reading the same series. Because one thing about manga is that mostly they last for quite a few years and they don't end, but since you will probably use a really long time getting through all of them, it's like, it's fine. But we have one here that is at least finished. So yeah, I will just get started to recommend these 6 different manga series and try to explain why I feel like they are a good way to start in manga if you're really interested in it. So first we have one that is, I know is very popular right now because the anime recently came out, but I read it and started it when it like started to come out in English. And that is Spy Family by Tatsuya Endo, and this one follows Master Spy Twilight, who needs to have a fake family because he's going undercover in this operation, and he needs to have a fake family for his undercover thing. So he gets a assassin for a wife and a daughter that is a telepath. The daughter can read the minds of her parents and like know that they're an assassin and a spy, but Master Spy Twilight doesn't know she knows, and he also doesn't know his wife is an assassin. The wife that is an assassin doesn't know he's a spy or that the daughter is a telepath. None of them know of each other except, you know, Anya, the daughter. And it's just the most hilarious thing. I actually haven't had a chance to watch the anime yet, and I've been so excited for it, but I know it has gotten so much praise for it. But you know, reading a thing and watching the anime of a thing is very different, because like when you read it, first of all, you know, manga doesn't have color, and like it doesn't have the sound effects and the voices and movement, because you know it is a page, is a book. I feel like the experience is quite different, but I read this out obviously before the manga came out and I just absolutely loved it. It's one of the most hilarious thing I ever read. It knows exactly how to deliver her humor, and know it is like, of course it doesn't make any sense, of course it's not logical these things are happening, but it's just so much fun. And just the way it's written, just the way the story is represented, is just so fun. And I know that this is really one that can drag you in if you like, you're not that used to reading manga, etc. Because yes, it is weird, you know, because we are like in this certain situation, but it just makes so much sense, and it's just really easy to get into, and it's hilarious, and it's also kind of brilliant, and I love it so much. And it's like one of my favorites of all time because it's literally so good, and I just know a lot of people love it, and I know it's just so enjoyable to get into. So love it a lot, and I would recommend it forever. It was also just a very good starting point for my opinion. So far I think 8 volumes are out in English, obviously more in Japanese, so enjoy the ride. I think it is 8 volumes because that's what I have, so yay. It's not that many really, but it is enough. And then we have one that I know most people have heard about, but I do think it's a really good starting point as well, and that is My Hero Academia by Kouei Horikoshi. This is a really long series. It is, you know, I think it's gonna end up like literally on 100 volumes, I'm not even joking. And it's like so popular, so I know most people have heard about it, but I still think it's a really good starting point to get into if you want to, you know, experience like a long manga series, which is, you know, really typical together, you know, with One Piece, you know, the really long ones. But I haven't read One Piece yet, but I am going to. So this one is set in a world where 80% of the human population has a quirk. It's not really a superpower everything, but it has turned into a superpower, supervillain society, and we have Midoriya, who really wants to become a superhero, but he was one of the few people in this world who didn't get a quirk when he was born. He kind of gets into one, and he does go to hero school, but there's like certain circumstances circumstances that needs to happen for this to happen. You gotta read it to find out. It is just so brilliant. I actually watched the anime first and then I read the whole manga. Now I'm so far ahead in the manga and I haven't watched the anime in years. And it's just so much fun. Obviously, it is a story that, you know, goes on. It lasts for a long time. Battles last certain volumes. There's a lot of character development. There's a big cast of characters, but you care about them immensely. They really have strong personalities where you cheer for them in the end. And then, you know, there's this whole battle between villains and heroes. And I think it also questions, like, what is a hero? What is a villain? And we truly like go into the details and nitpicks of the society and how it's grown into what it is to be. And I just think it is a really huge series, of course, but it is just a good place to start. You know, like the typical manga series that lasts super long, that you can really get into. You can really get into the fandom if you want to. Not that I like interact with the fandom either way, but you know, if you want like an ongoing series and like an ongoing thing that is really long, that you know is going to be there for a while, and then also just super entertaining and super good. Obviously, I do think the series has its ups and downs. I do think the series like is really good, and it used to be like one of my all-time favorites. So yeah, I really recommend it if you still hesitate to pick it up. Obviously, the commitment is huge. I think I have 30 volumes I have read in English, but I think 31 and 32 might be already out in English if I am incorrect right now. I think I have 31, I just haven't read it yet. And then 32 might have just been recently released or is being soon released. So, you know, that is only in English, and there's several more volumes in Japanese, and then it's still coming out. So it's gonna be a lot. I just have a feeling we will end up on like 120 volumes in the end. Will it happen in my lifetime? Probably, but it's just like I've been reading this for so many years and it's just fun to like be on this ride. And I think you will be so committed to them that, yeah. And it's just, you know, again, a good starting point because it gets complicated. It's not like there's anything wrong with something complicated, but it's just the setup is nice and just the vibes, the anime vibes is just so, the manga vibes is just so on point here that you really get a feeling of like, what is out there through this, I think. Then we have Promised Neverland by Kayo Shirai, who does the story, and then the art is done by Potsuka Demisu. And this one is kind of, I would say, a dystopia manga series, which is also actually finished. I've totally forgot. So we have two series here that are finished. And this one is set and follows these children in this orphanage where everyone is happy and everyone has a great life. And then they find out a dark secret about this orphanage. And I know that's like the shortest synopsis in the world you could get, but I feel like you really need to read it to find out. Don't get told what that secret is. I didn't know the secret when I read this for the first time and I was mind blown, and it was just so good. So we've basically followed like a bunch of kids, and just the way that this story has so many plot twists and smart characters and just so many things being related to the series. I love it so much. It is like one of the best mangas I read. And also what's so great about it, I do think it's a good place to get into manga as well, because it's like we have this really simple setup, but we have like the typical, I was gonna say, manga-ness of like following these kids. And yeah, it's not like the longest series is, but it is quite long. I think it is it 20 volumes? I'm gonna peek over to my shelf. I cannot see my shelf from here. This is sad. Yes, it has 20 volumes. So no, it's not the shortest and it's not the longest, but it is something that is totally worth going through the whole ride for. Like when I started, I was so addicted, I was so into it. It really drags you in at once. And for me, the story has some arcs that are just so great. And of course it has its downsides as well, like everything else, but I do think it was solid all the way through and I absolutely loved it. Yeah, I do think this is a good starting point as well. It really drags you in. You have this really dark side. It's a lot of blood and gore and stuff like that. While like, you know, My Hero Academia doesn't like show all that stuff. I mean, it's bloody, but it's more like cartoony. That's what I would describe it. This is more like brutal and sad because we have these kids and it's blood, you know. I just adored so much. I really just loved it, and I just has so many standout moments in it, so I really think it's a good place to start as well. And then we have Noragami by Adachi Toka, which is a story that has been with me for so many years now and I adore it so much. So this one we follow Yato, who is a god, but he is, I was gonna say, homeless. No one really believes in him. People have forgotten him. And then we have Hiyori, who kind of gets this connection with him randomly, and she also can like leave her body and go into like the spiritual realm where the gods are, so they get like a connection because of this. And there's just so much more into the story, but basically the gods here can take up, not necessarily weapons, but they can take up souls and make them into their accessory. We have Yato picking up Yukina, who comes his accessory but really his weapon, and we have these connections between these three characters, and we follow them through so many hardships and battles and just so many things between the gods and believing, and it's just really cool. And you know, godhood in general is a huge thing within, you know, manga in general. I don't think any of these others here has like godship in them, and I think like this is a really nice one where you like see that kind of trope in the manga. I was gonna say worse, because like it's like a huge thing. We often have gods interacting with, you know, human and humanity. And here we just have Yato, who is just so precious and cute. And of course I love the anime as well. The story is still ongoing. It used to like be really fast, but then the author took a long break from the series. And we are getting like 1 volume-ish a year now in English. We are up to 24 volumes in English. And again, I do think the story was at its strongest in the beginning, and now it's like, it's still good, but you know, there's always a point where it is great and fantastic, and then it's still good, but it's not like what you're expecting. Or maybe it's something to do with that I binged the first 10 and then have to wait like for every volume, and then the story, you know, it feels different when you have to wait. I don't know why. I always want to reread this because I want to like go back to the beginning and then read it as a whole and see like how I feel then. But I do just think it's a good introduction. It is not, you know, complicated. The whole like bonding with the spiritual world as well, and you know, as I said, interacting with gods, etc. I feel like all of those tropes are really nice to experience, as well as just, it's not a simple story by all means. It has some complicated stuff that is happening, but it's just so heartfelt, but also has all like, you know, seriousness and battles, and it is just a really nice series to get into. I swear you won't regret it. At least like read the first 3 volumes, because it's so good and I love it so much, and I will keep reading it until the end. Now the next one I have here is Flying Witch by Chihiro Ishizuka. So this one follows Makoto, who is a witch, and she goes up into the north in Japan to live with her other part of the family, to like just be a witch's apprentice and learning like spells and stuff. And this is very much like a slice of life manga, which means that we have like episodic chapters where we kind of have a tiny plot in each chapter that is kind of resolved. This does like connect with other chapters later. A little story, like they go and pick some fruit, and then the fruit, for example, is alive, and then in the next chapter we can suddenly be at school and cook food. Like they are connected, of course, but it's like a bit like episodic instead of like it ends on a cliffhanger for then it to be like following directly after. Sometimes it is like that as well, but then mostly it's like slice of lifey, which is also like a bit kind of different manga, which I also really enjoy. And this is just so cute. We just have this girl who's a witch and this cat, and it's just so cute and cozy and nice and not scary and bad at all. We have her helping people, we have them discovering magical things, and we have like this really cute family she's living with and friendship, and it's just like a really sweet and cute one, which is like, I think, really simple to get into. You just enjoy like the cuteness of the story. So I think it's perfect to read if you just want to get into manga. Simple is the wrong word. It's not like nothing is happening, but it's more like it's really easy to set yourself into, and it doesn't feel like otherworldly, which sometimes it can feel if you like never read a manga before and you go into like a super weird one. I feel like it can feel really otherworldly. I don't know how to describe it. Well, this is like really grounded, but still following a witch and all this cuteness. So yeah, I think it's perfect for that. And again, it feels like you can read just like a volume here and there because of like, you know, the whole episodic chapters or slash slice of life chapters that I'm calling it. But yeah, just really recommend this. And it is so far 10 volumes out in English, and then there is 11th one coming out in January in English, and I think it's like each 1 volume a year, so it's not like really hard to follow up with. And the last one we have here is Girl from the Other Side by Neverland, and this one is a very atmospheric story. It doesn't really have that much text in it either, but it's just very atmospheric and beautiful with its art. We have this world where we have the outside and the inside. On the inside, humans live, and they are like not sick. On the outside, we have this curse that turns people into these creatures, and we have Shiva who lives on the outside and has not been affected by this curse yet. and she lives with a cursed creature that she calls Teacher. And we just have their relationship going about the daily lives until, you know, this daily life is interrupted by, you know, maybe people on the outside or maybe people on the inside. It's just very, very atmospheric and beautiful, and I feel like you really need to read it to figure like out what I'm talking about. Very like ominous story. It's like definitely a mystery, and it's just very simple to get into, where you can just like appreciate where we like a different kind of art style, as well as just like this really sweet story really, but it's also really dark and sad. And I feel like it's a really good starting point. I feel like it's really easy to get into, as I said, and I feel like it's really good for manga newbies. So I just actually finished this, like the whole series. There's 11 volumes in the main story, and then we have like a short story thingy coming. So it is finished, and you can easily like get through the whole thing. But just the way this is drawn, and just the way the atmosphere is, it's just one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen. Really different, but really worth getting into, and I feel like you very different vibes from it, and that is also really nice to experience as well. So yeah, that was the 6 mangas I recommend for newbies. If you are interested in manga, I feel like more people are getting more into manga more and more. I feel like these are some really good starting points. Of course, there's also Death Note, but I feel like most people have heard about it, and while I have read it, I don't actually own it, so I need to get to that, or else it will probably be have included in this video. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed these recommendations. I hope any of them sounded interesting to you if you want to get into manga. Of course, I have many more manga series I am reading. I just felt like they would be maybe like not the best starting points, even though they are amazing mangas as well. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this. Check out my Patreon down below if you want to support my channel further and get more extra bonus content from me. And you should see me soon in a new video. Leave like a drawing pencil down below, because you know manga is drawn if you enjoy this. And you should see me soon in a new one. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.